How to change the front and rear brake pads and rotors on a 2013 to 2018 Lincoln MKZ. I am Stephen Wimberley, and this is Working with Wimberley.
The first thing that you have to do is remove a plastic cap that covers the caliper bolts. Just pull this right out. It's like this. It's a little plastic plug. Once that's out, the bolts that hold in the caliper are a hex bit socket like this. So you need a hex bit. This is an H7 to get out the two caliper bolts. So I'm going to do that first. Next, I'm going to remove the spring clip. Right now I'm going to push the piston back into the caliper. I'm going to use this piece of wood and a C-clamp to do that. So now the piston is pushed completely into the caliper. This will give us room to insert the new brake pads. Right now I have the caliper being supported by this bucket so that it's not hanging from the brake line. The next step is to take the two bolts out of the caliper bracket. That will require an 18mm socket and a breaker bar to get it loose. After it's loose, I'll use a ratchet with the socket to get it off the rest of the way. Second 18mm bolt out, and the bracket comes right off. With the bracket off, we should be able to just pull off the old rotor, and then we'll put on the new one. So these new rotors are drilled and slotted, and they're directional, and actually has a label right here that says front driver side. So it tells you exactly where it goes on the car if you get drilled and slotted rotors. So with the rotor on, I'm going to go ahead and remount the caliper bracket. It's the next step. These are the new brake pads. The brake pad with the clip actually snaps into the piston of the caliper, and then this pad here without the clip on the outside will go on the outside like this. So that's outside without the clip. The one with the clip will go on the inside. I'm also going to put a little bit of grease on the back of this to prevent squeaking. With the two caliper bolts back on, the next step would be to replace the two caps that cover the caliper bolts. Okay, with the two caps in, the last step will be to reinstall the spring clip or install the new one if it came with the new one. There we go. So this is complete. The last step will be remember to pump the brakes before you start driving the car. But this is the completed installation of the front brake pads and rotors. The caliper bolts are covered by a plastic cap which needs to be removed. There's one here, another cap here. Once the cap's removed, you can get to the bolt, which is a H7 hex bit socket is what you need to get the caliper bolts out. The next thing I want to do is remove this spring clip, and I have to be careful not to damage this because my new pads did not come with a new spring clip, so I'll have to reuse this. Well, popped out, but it's not damaged. So now I can simply lift up the rear caliper. Alright, so we have a twist-in style caliper, so I will not be able to simply push this in with the C-clamp. I'm going to have to use an attachment on my ratchet to screw the piston clockwise back into the caliper. But while it's out of the way, I'll go ahead and remove the old brake pads. And now I'll get my tool to do the piston. The piston in the rear brake caliper has two notches cut out that I normally would use this tool with to screw it back into the piston. Unfortunately, none of them fit except for one side, which had 4 of these little nubs on it, and I actually had to cut 2 of them off in order to get it to fit into the piston to screw it back in. So this is the tool, and I cut 2 of the corners off with my cutoff wheel, electric tool, and once I did that, I was able to screw the piston back into the caliper. And the tool that I have, I bought it from Advanced Auto Parts. It's called a disc brake piston tool. Just wanted to mention that. Caliper bracket bolts on the rear are a 15mm, so I'm going to use a 15mm socket and this breaker bar to loosen the 2 caliper bolts, and once they're loose, I'll use my ratchet and socket to take it off the rest of the way. With the 2 bolts out, the rear caliper bracket can be removed, and the rear rotor can be removed as well. So with the rotor in place, I'm going to reinstall caliper bracket. So the 2 brake pads are a little different. One has a spring, one doesn't. The one with the spring will go in the back. The one without the spring will go in the front. Using the H7 again.
Thanks for watching the video. If you found this helpful, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Thanks again.